thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locations Unknown. I'm your co-host, Joe Irado, and with me, as always, is a guy who uses bear spray to spice his food, Mike Vandebogart.
Thanks, Joe, and thank you once again for tuning in. We are once again live, if you're watching this on YouTube. Some of you...
We use the term live liberally.
Yeah.
We're live.
We're live.
Me and you are live,
but we're not
right
really
now.
live. And some of you super sleuths out there will realize that we are still wearing the same clothes from our last episode.
I do want to believe.
That is because we are recording episodes back to back. So don't have a lot of new updates this episode from 2 hours ago.
If you want updates, listen to the last episode.
Yes.
And you will get the updates that you deserve. So you have to listen to both of them and help us monetize more.
We are ever evolving. We've changed the camera angles again. We think we like these better than our last episode.
It's all incentive to watch the other one, too. If you want to see a little bit of a different angle,
Yeah.
watch episode 44, and then come to episode 45. Then go back and watch 44 again. Make sure to play through the ads. Just let the ads play. Go on. Sorry. I mean, we don't have anything else, right?
No, I thanked all of our Patreon supporters in the previous episode. I would just say if you want to help the show out, every $1, I think that's the lowest one you can do. Even $1 a month will get you, after a couple months, you get a free bumper sticker out of it. You get access to a bunch of other episodes. Joe and I will be recording a new Patreon episode probably next week. We're uploading a Zoom call we did with all our Patreon supporters later today. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long, so a lot of cool information in there. And we do free swag giveaways sometimes. And once I get...
Ooh, that's a good plug. If
Yes.
you listen to the last episode, we had no clue. We have no clue. We ended up with like a supernatural theory. So if you come up with a good theory that's plausible that we didn't come up with, you get a free hat.
Yeah, leave it in the Facebook comments. And like I said in the last episode, I felt bad that was our leading theory because we always like to try to find a plausible explanation. Now, of course, I know there's some on YouTube that have left some comments that the only plausible explanation is UFO abduction. So I think we've been doing it wrong this entire time.
Yeah.
So, but no, yeah, if any bit of support on Patreon helps. Joe and I are continually updating our equipment. We are in the search for some studio space.
Oh, yeah.
For down the road. Very excited. We actually had a really funny idea that eventually when we get our studio, we are to commemorate it. We're going to do a 24-hour live stream.
Yep, of us just talking to people, doing random stuff.
Probably a
Who knows?
terrible idea, but we're going to do it.
Yep. Let's give us a reason to get away from the wives.
Yeah.
And get out of the house for 24 hours straight and do nothing.
So if you want to see that train wreck happen sooner than later, go over to Patreon and sign up. Find links to that in the show notes.
All right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to explore Locations Unknown.
Stanislaus National Forest, located in Tuolumne County off the northwest part of Yosemite National Park. This forest is home to hundreds of miles of streams, rivers, and over 1,000 miles of trails. Outside of the natural beauty, this national forest holds a sinister secret. Join us this week as we investigate the Donnell Vista Point Disappearances. So before I go into the location profile, now that we're doing these kind of live, Joe informed me that I already pronounced something wrong. It's Stanislaus.
The irony is that could be wrong too.
Probably.
My correction is probably wrong, but I think it's Stanislaus.
Stanislaus.
Or Stanislaus.
So,
and we have a phone number.
Yes.
If it's wrong, you can call and yell at us, and we'll play your call on the air. So be kind of nice if you don't want to look mean.
Yeah, and in the past we would have redone that and made sure it was right, but now we're kind of doing these a little more live.
Maybe we wouldn't have.
Maybe not. So, all right, we'll get back into it so we're not pissing everyone off. So Donnell Vista Point is rated as a pretty easy hike by the National Park Service. It consists of a quarter-mile paved trail with signs along the way, leads to an overlook with sweeping views of the Middle Fork, Stanislaus River Canyon, and Donnell Reservoir. This reminds me of all the big parks that I've been to. Will have a couple like paved trails that you can take your like grandparents on, and
yeah, like this trail, it looks like a heart almost, and wraps around the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very simple, very well marked.
take strollers down it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like something you bring your little kids on because you get the little point lookout. You can see some cool stuff.
Yeah.
It'll take you a half hour, maybe an hour if you're really taking your time, and you can be done with it. It's very, very simple.
Yeah, and this is near Yosemite, so I'm assuming that it's probably a pretty busy national forest.
Yeah, I don't know about this particular spot, but
Yeah.
I mean it's like adjacent to San Francisco if you're looking at California, so it's lower than Tahoe. But it's in a populated area, and there's a lot of outdoor activities people do in that area. So I'm sure it's heavily trafficked.
Yeah.
Not like Yellowstone is, but like I said, like it's one of those things, like if it pops up and I'm doing a road trip, it's like, yeah, there's a cool little point. It'll take you 20 minutes. Oh, yeah, sure, I'll park there and do it.
Yeah. So at the top, there's a steep, rocky slope with areas of slippery rock. It's a day-use area, not a campground, so there's no overnight camping. The proximity of this national forest to San Francisco makes it a really popular recreation destination, and if you've ever been to Yosemite in a non-COVID year, you'll understand it's probably one of the most popular areas to hike, the Yosemite area. It's absolutely
California is just gorgeous.
It's
outdoors things.
It's a beautiful park. The state, for all the maybe bad things you hear about California in the news, and it has some of the most beautiful national parks.
Yeah, those
in the
are
world.
the people, not all the people. We have some great supporters, but there's some of the people there make it bad. But the natural beauty of that state.
None
is
of the
phenomenal.
people are bad. I like everyone I've ever met from California. So, but top-notch natural areas. You can't beat the parks in California. There's nothing in the world that compares to a lot of those parks. Redwood and Yosemite and Joshua Tree, and I could go on. There's like 20 that are in California.
I know. It's because it's gorgeous.
Yeah. So obviously the proximity to San Francisco, a lot of people come to kayak and whitewater raft, and there's over 800 miles of streams and rivers, in addition to the 1,000 miles of trails. So the Stanislaus is part of the Sierra Nevadas and specifically falls within the Central Valley. This zone stretches in elevation from 500 feet to 3,500, is the foothill wooded zone, an area that is hot and dry in the summer with very little or no snow in the winter. Animals typically in this zone are black bears, ringtail cats, coyotes, gray squirrels, bobcats, California mule deer, and skunks. And in that list, probably the thing I'd least not want to find is a skunk.
Yeah. Absolutely agree. 100%.
So I think they must have grizzlies too, because Yosemite does.
I don't think in this area they do.
Yeah.
Because it's south enough that maybe they don't come down that far. They typically don't come down towards the middle.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, it wasn't listed. I looked on Wikipedia, and I pulled this information from both Wikipedia and the National Forest Service. Yeah. So, like, for like the trail rating and for the animal in the area.
Yeah.
And I always leave out, like, little tiny animals.
Yeah.
Because they'll have a list that's 20 animals long. And
Some episode, we will list out every insect from the park, and episode will go 4 hours.
Yeah, you'll understand why we don't. They'll be like, oh, we have this type of mouse and this type of mouse. Because that's their job. They have to list it. I usually put the ones of, like, substance and some of, like, gray squirrel. It's not of substance, but just to give you
should
an
try to
idea.
list animals that might cause an issue, like black bears. I I wouldn't
Not
be too
typically.
concerned with a black bear. Gray squirrels are pretty ferocious. Actually, remember Zion? All my food got destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
From they weren't gray squirrels; they were the red ones.
Yeah, I don't know what they are. Maybe it's red-tailed squirrel.
Or it was either that or chipmunks.
Yeah, because
But
we hung it. But we didn't hang it far enough, or they were going along the line. Because we did the thing like we hung it appropriately, where it's the line in the middle, and then you go up the middle of the line.
Chipmunks.
Yeah,
because
they got in there.
I woke up the next day and my food was just decimated by something. Something got in there and just shredded it.
And we're terrible friends. We didn't share, so we're like, "Sorry, Mike, you're
starved.
You're gonna starve.
You're gonna be an episode." So that is kind of a pretty quick rundown of the location. Joe is going to go into the character profiles of our 3 disappearances.
Yeah, so this one's going to be a little bit different because we're going to go through 3 separate stories spread out across a couple years of people that, and this is what Mike described was a chunk of this area. So like a big portion of the Sierra Nevadas. When we talk about these 3 disappearances, it was 3 people who disappeared in this very tiny point. With this like quarter mile, this really small trail around a parking lot with a point, 3 people all disappeared in that one spot.
That's amazing.
That's what makes it so confusing and just kind of like a very eye-opening case, if you will. So the first person we're going to talk about is Nita Mayo. In 2005, she disappeared. She was 75 years old, was born and raised in England, and married an American soldier in the Air Force. So that couple moved to the States and settled in Oklahoma. So she was born and raised overseas, married an airman, and moved back with him. She enjoyed the outdoors, would often drive over to Yosemite. She was physically and mentally healthy. So that day, Nita left her home in Hawthorne, Nevada, on Monday, August 8th, 2005, and told a friend she was going on a shopping trip over the Sierra Nevada mountains to the western side of the mountain range. She said she would go over the Sonora Pass on State Route 108 and would return by evening and go to work the next day. She is believed to have left her home at 11 a.m., but she did not arrive at work as planned. When Nina didn't report to work on Tuesday, August 9th, her coworkers at Mount Grant General Hospital called the Mineral County Sheriff's Department in Hawthorne, as well as the Tuolumne and Mono County Sheriff's Departments. On Wednesday, August 10th, a Tuolumne County Sheriff's Sergeant spotted Nita Mayo's 1997 Mercury Sable station wagon at the Donnell Vista and began a search of the immediate area before nightfall. So her car was in the parking lot.
Okay, so she had driven all the way from Oklahoma to the Vista.
Yeah, just to go shopping.
And we assume she parked her car at the...
I mean, that's one of those things, again, maybe she pulled off to take a break and wanted to go for a walk or whatever. It's such a small, easy trail. It's something that I could see somebody doing. If you've been driving for a while, you want to just get out and walk around. So her keys were locked inside the car, which could be opened from a keypad on the outside. Nita had bought souvenirs from a Strawberry General Store near Pinecrest on August 8th that were found in her locked car, along with her purse, wallet, and glasses. Missing from the car was her camera and prescription sunglasses, with no sign of her at the scene nor evidence of foul play. So to me, without going further, we'll keep reading on. To me, that says she parked her car, took her camera to go take some pictures for a walk.
Yep.
So it was probably during the day.
Everything else in her car.
Exactly. She knows the passcode, put it all in the car. I'm going to grab my sunglasses. It's daytime.
Yeah.
And I'm going to grab my camera and take some pictures.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
So a Caltrans worker, which is the California Department of Transportation, saw Nita's car on the 8th and 9th at the Vista parking area, but because backpackers often park there overnight, their worker didn't think too much of it. So sometimes people, even though you can't camp that area, will park their car and hike to an area you can camp.
Okay.
So it went an extra day without being really reported.
Yeah.
By then, Mayo's children, Cindy, Shelley, Tracy, and Pete, had flown in from Oklahoma, Tennessee, and North Dakota when they heard she was missing. They figured she had run off the road somewhere, but then they got the call that her car was found at the Donnell Vista on Sonora Pass. That caused even more concern for her safety. When dogs searched the Vista Point area, they picked up on no scent of her other than right at the car. Nita Mayo's children searched for her for 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
Large organized searches with volunteers were held every weekend, and Pete Mayo said he was out every day searching for his mom. In September of 2005, authorities announced they were seeking Jewel Janine Rice in connection with Nita's disappearance. She was not a suspect in Mayo's case, but investigators believe she may have valuable information. Police stated then Rice's vehicle had mechanical problems on the Sonora area on the day Mayo disappeared, and she was going around asking people for help with it.
Okay.
So she wasn't like a suspect in that she was just there and talking to lots of random people.
Okay.
So on August 12th, she left Sonora without the car. Tracy drove 21 hours from her home in North Dakota to Midland, Texas, where the person of interest now lives. I didn't tell him I was coming, she said. I went alone, which probably wasn't too smart. When I had some questions that needed answers, she went to his place of work, sat there, and waited for him. When he saw me, I didn't say a word, he said, "Hello, Tracy, how are you?" He was nervous as they talked, she said, but she extracted no new or potentially incriminating information from him. So her family maintains that Nita was scared of heights, so she wouldn't have ventured to the precarious points for photographs.
Yeah.
News reports about Nita Mayo's disappearance appeared in California, Nevada, Oklahoma, and on newswires, and her sisters in Cornwall, England, was interviewed by the British news agencies. So this went international because she used to be a citizen in Britain. The search was also broadcast on America's Most Wanted television show. Pete, her son, said, "I know she's not right around Donnell Vista. I crawled on my hands and knees around that place for weeks and found not one scrape of evidence. I know that place better than most locals. I scoured it for months. It's hard to live with the fact that you let her down." The family thinks that Nita met with foul play and have always suspected a man who had been a patient at Nita's clinic in Hawthorne who showed up there claiming he'd heard Nita Mayo had disappeared but had been found. The man later failed a polygraph, but no arrests were ever made. Her daughter Tracy said they hadn't started the searches yet. He was really weird. So that's the first person. So I don't know. Do you want to go a little bit into just this one, and then we'll go on to the next one, or do you want to do all three?
Yeah, we could go into each one, I guess.
Okay.
I think this one, gosh, compared to our last episode, I think this one is a little more, for me at least, cut and dry. I definitely think foul play happened. Either you said she was having car trouble.
She wasn't. The first person of interest, had car trouble, and that person was asking random strangers for help.
Yeah.
And that's when they thought she was a person of interest. Say, hey, when you're asking people for help, did you see this person or talk to this person?
Now, obviously, the gentleman who failed the polygraph test is a major suspect. I
would think so.
I'm trying to think. So how would have that worked? So he abducted her back in Oklahoma, then drove her car to Yosemite to park it to like get rid of it.
Yeah, or like how did he know she was going there? Like,
yeah,
is he stalking her? Did he follow her?
Or maybe she mentioned it to him at work. If it's a patient, nurses are pretty friendly with, they deal with. My wife's a nurse, and she has good patients and bad patients, and
sure,
but they treat them all with respect, and are nice to them, and will make small talk with them. So maybe she was making small talk with this patient and told him, "Oh, I really like Yosemite. I'm going up there this weekend to go shopping," and maybe he abducted her, and then.
Well, and if he said he heard she'd been found.
Yeah.
Like, where did you hear that from?
Right.
And why would you come into work and say that if it's not true?
Yeah,
is that him reaching out, like, sometimes they, start involving themselves in the case because they're part of it?
Yep.
I don't know.
There's obviously a good chance of foul play happening at the Vista. Maybe somebody... I don't think it would be robbery because her wallet was left in the car, and her car was there.
Yeah,
so
all of her personal belongings were still there.
They didn't take her stuff. So, it could have been someone that, it could have been a serial killer. Kind of,
I think that's always
we've talked in previous episodes that I don't think we give those theories enough weight when we are throwing around theories. There's a lot of, weird stuff that happens out there. Maybe there is more of, serial killers lurking than we think. I don't know. I think it's foul play. I don't know. The polygraph, failing the polygraph, I think he's a prime suspect.
I would put it in that bucket, yeah.
It's interesting that the police must have not had, they didn't have enough evidence to actually charge him with something. So
yeah, a lot of times polygraphs are not considered very.
You can't.
There's been cases where people will fail polygraphs and then be proven completely innocent still because if your question's hard enough, people start believing things. So they've even proven in some cases if you're sitting in a room for 15 hours being questioned by police, they can get you to sign confessions. They can get you to believe you did something you didn't do, and you're later proven to be innocent. So I think that's the only reason that they don't use polygraphs as like a good means of, we should get this guy. They probably need other stuff.
Yeah. No, so I think it was foul play. So
Okay.
Let's go on.
We'll
to
go
our,
on
our next
to
case.
Patricia Soul Tolhurst in 2014. So Patricia, or Patty Sue Tolhurst, is 48 years old, was the owner of Patty's Shack, a restaurant in eastern Sonora. She was last seen in Twain Harte on April 18th, 2014. On April 20th, she sent a mailed letter to some friends saying she was going to go to Kennedy Meadows to put her feet in the water. On April 22nd, her white Toyota 4Runner was found abandoned at Donnell Vista Point on Highway 108. Tolhurst's purse and other belongings were inside the car. Her loved one stated she was having financial problems and may have been distraught over them at the time of her disappearance. A search lasting over 7 days yielded no clues to Patty's whereabouts, and her case remains unsolved. Thomas F. Kelly, which is Patty's father, said Patty had been raised in the Bay Area but always had a fascination with nature. She loved that whole area up there ever since she was very young, he said. She liked everything that had to do with the outdoors. She'd never been heard from again. So there's not a lot of details around this case.
Yeah.
But basically it was 2 days from the last time she was seen that she went there. And, the first one was 2005.
Yeah.
So internet's still kind of new. In 2014, she's sending a mailed letter to friends saying she's going to go put her feet in the water.
Yeah.
That seemed a little odd to me. Like mailing a letter to say I'm going to do something, because it's going to take, 3 days to get to somebody?
Yeah. Unless.
And what's the point of sending that letter?
Yeah. I don't know what you think on this one. I think this one, the fact that she was having financial problems and seemed distraught, maybe something in her life triggered her to spiral into depression, and she went out there to commit suicide.
Yeah, just or change of pace or do something. Because
maybe
if he's bringing it up, that means it was significant enough that it was impacting her life.
Yeah, I think this one feels, I'm leading towards my main theory on this one is suicide with the letter that she mailed her friends. The fact, like you said, that it was enough of an issue that he made a point to mention it. Financial. I'll tell you, financial problems can be some of the most devastating things in your life. Keep you awake at night. The worry of where am I going to get to my next meal, or am I going to lose
very
my house?
Helpless feeling.
Yeah, it's and it can feel like you never can solve it, because the bad thing about debt is it keeps growing if you can't pay it off. So I can totally understand how that could cause somebody to spiral into depression.
Well, and she's the owner of a restaurant, so you compound. Personal financial stuff is very devastating.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a business owner and you're having financial troubles, you have the responsibility of your employees weighing on you and all those types of things, and that never goes away also. So you can have the personal effects of that, the personal effects of the people that work for you. It can be very daunting, and sometimes you can just snap. I mean, I feel like we saw that with Erica Lloyd.
Yeah.
She had her hair salon, and it was all taken away. She just had to leave, almost like I need a reset.
Now, the other theory could be it kind of, because of the financial problems, and maybe she wanted to go to the Yosemite area to go hiking and recharge, reset, and maybe something happened.
I think that's very possible.
Where she got injured and succumbed to exposure, or she fell down a crevasse, or something like that. From being in Yosemite and in that area, it's vast. I mean, the park is huge, and someone could easily, if they went hiking off trail, maybe you could get lost and they may not find you. So I think my two theories are, suicide, or she went out there to reset, recharge, and something happened and they just haven't been able to find her.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you on that one. Okay. I'm waiting till the end personally. I like hearing your theories.
Okay. So you have all the theories at the end?
No, I'm just saying I'm going to go in depth more afterwards.
Okay.
I want to keep hearing yours.
Okay.
So the last one we're going to talk about is Breck Phelps in 2016. So Breck Phelps, 68 years old, disappeared from the Donnell Vista while on a fishing trip in early October of 2016. His Nissan Versa car was found a quarter-mile away near a trail leading down the Stanislaus River. On October 5th, the search was officially scaled back after a 4-day search. His cell phone had been powered down, so he was unable to be tracked by searchers. Tuolumne County Search and Rescue was assisted by the National Guard out of Sacramento, a Black Hawk helicopter, an unmanned Stanislaus County aerial vehicle, heat-sensing equipment, California Highway Patrol helicopters, and 6 dog teams over the course of this search were used. Boats were used to search the Donnell Reservoir as well. Search and Rescue Sergeant Jeff Hunt said his crew approaches each search by the same procedure, but the terrain at the Donnell Vista does make it difficult to search. That area has extreme elevation changes within short distances, which can limit areas people can travel in. Due to cliff faces and trying to access areas over the top of large sections of granite to search. So access does pose a challenge. No sign of Breck was ever found.
So this one out of the 3 cases is kind of more typical of the cases we discuss. And this one, first of all, I'm amazed. I'm always amazed sometimes by the searches and by the amount of equipment brought out for searches. So Black Hawk helicopters, drones, heat sensing equipment, 6 dog teams. That's a lot of manpower and money into a search. We always say this, these searchers give it their all when they're trying to find people. It doesn't matter your age, gender, anything about you. Their number one goal is to find you. And so I just like to say that whenever we read something like this. I think a theory here, so this one, perhaps he fell in the river and drowned. And I don't know how big that river is or how fast it flows, but I know from talking to other people about other cases and search and rescue people that it's entirely possible that if somebody drowns, they can get washed downstream. And then I think, what do you call it, those points where you can get stuck under?
Now it's on the edge of my tongue because you may like choke points or
some kind
something
of
like that.
So it is
Strainer points.
Strainer points.
Yep.
So perhaps he, while he was fishing, he had an accident, fell in the water and drowned, and his body got washed downstream outside of the search area, and got stuck in one of those strainer points and wasn't found. You would think at some point somebody would find his remains.
Yeah.
That's one theory. Another theory, like the person in this case said, was the terrain is very treacherous. So I don't at all rule out he having an accident where he fell into an area where searchers just can't get to and weren't able to search. There was no info on what the dogs were able to, if they picked up scent or not. But I think my 2 theories on this case are he fell in the river and drowned because of some reason. Either he had an accident or maybe had a medical emergency, or on his way to the river to go fishing, he had an accident where he fell into a crevasse or a deep, somewhere where it would be hard for searchers to find his remains. That's the 2 that come to mind real quick.
No, I think that makes sense. I agree with you on that one. I would say, unlike the last episode, these all have, I think, very plausible cases. I think the thing that makes these very mysterious is the fact that nothing was ever found of those people.
Yeah.
Except for their vehicles, and the vehicles were untouched, so it's not like there's foul play, at least at where their vehicle was. Mm-hmm. So the first 2, I feel like the first one was the most likely to be foul play.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
It didn't sound like there's anything going wrong in her life that would cause her to do anything that would be rash. Second one, I'm with you on, as unfortunate as it is, that could have went there to harm herself.
Yes.
I think the letter to her friends is the thing that makes me think that that's the case.
Yeah,
it's such a weird way to communicate in a modern time.
2014. If it was like 1994.
Exactly. Then it's like, okay, maybe, but even then, like, you're writing a letter to say, I'm going to go
dip my toes in the water.
Do something for a day.
And who knows if that had some kind of meaning with her friends, like when they read it, they're like,
maybe.
Oh no.
Well, or maybe they sent random letters to each other. Like, maybe they were friends. Yeah, maybe they like, hey, this is what I'm doing this week. Like, that could be normal to me. I'm looking at it without knowing the personal dynamic of that friend group. Mm-hmm. But given the fact that it was mentioned that she had the financial problems, you only say something like that if it's significant enough that it's impacting their life, that it's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
So I look at that. She's a restaurant owner. A lot of pressure on her. I'd like to think that maybe she went there just to reset.
Yeah.
And maybe there's foul play involved. But I think first one, I'd say foul play. Second one, she went there to harm herself for foul play. Third one, I don't know. I feel like maybe an accident. Mm-hmm. It's too bad his phone was powered down. Maybe it ran out of battery or something, because you could tell they would have been able to triangulate his position if he had his phone on. I don't know on the last one. I'm just trying to think if you're fishing, what are the odds of you being washed downstream but not finding the body in that area? I don't know.
That's the thing. Yeah, if, say he was fishing and had a heart attack and fell into the water and got washed away, yes, the body will be potentially washed out of the search area, but somebody downstream will eventually find the remains.
Yeah.
It's not like it's going to stay in a strainer point forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that it happened in 2016, perhaps it just hasn't, been found yet. I don't know a lot about this river, and I guess I should have looked in. I should have do a little show.
Well, there are areas. No, there are areas of the river that you can whitewater raft. Okay. Obviously, he's not fishing there.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna go with that, maybe he got swept up, he had a heart attack, collapsed, floating downstream, then got into some rapids or things like that. Maybe he could be like against a boulder in a rapid.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And they're not going to search that area if it's way out of the search
zone.
Well,
and you can't. I mean, how well can you search like an actual area that's got rapids?
So, maybe the fact that this only happened in 2016, that at some point the remains will, if it truly is in the river somewhere, that they will, lodge free and somebody will find them. So yeah, I think something to do with the river in the third one, or like I said, on his path to the river, something happened to him. You would think though, if his primary goal was to go fishing, he's not going to be going off trail.
No,
unless the trail doesn't lead down to the river. So maybe he has to hike to a certain spot in the trail and then kind of bushwhack it down to get to the river to fish. If that's the case, then I feel like the theory of him getting injured on the way to the river is more likely.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
I find it weird that they had like all the search efforts, the dog teams, everything come out, and they couldn't find anything about it.
Yeah, then the theory of him falling down something that is almost impossible to find with searching makes sense. We've had people comment on our episodes where I think we don't put enough weight on the fact that some locations have a lot of crevasses and things you can fall down that are almost next to impossible to adequately search.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Perhaps he fell down something like that on his path to the river if the trail didn't lead all the way to the river.
No, I agree. I think there's a running theory whenever I read forums or things like that I think has a lot of credence that I want to start thinking about more. And it's totally that whole map where they show you like the missing persons.
Yes.
And the cave systems of the United States.
Yeah.
Now, correlation and causation are not always a thing, right?
Yep.
I think we have to account for that. But when you see something that correlates that well, I still feel like you have to consider it.
Yeah.
And that is definitely one of the things that I see. It's like, okay, when you're not on a trail and you're wandering, and we've been hiking a lot. Yeah. I've gone bushwhacking where you're going off trail because I have maps. I know to read them.
Yep.
It terrifies me, the idea of I could just be bushwhacking and I might fall in a hole that's like 3 feet wide that just goes deep.
Yeah.
And like, how would you find it? Like think about that. Like you're going through the brush and you fall in a hole that's like the size of 3 by 3 foot.
It's kind of covered with some
like
vegetation.
You step in it and you fall down and you're in, maybe it's only 20-foot drop or whatever.
But you're stuck down there now.
But you're stuck down there.
Probably injured.
Yeah. Broke a leg. If it's deeper, severely injured.
Yep.
And who is going to find you?
Yeah, I mean, at a situation like that, your best bet is hopefully a dog team can pick up your scent.
Yeah, and
trace it back to that hole.
Yeah, and if you're off trail of where you're supposed to be, I can't picture anyone finding you. So, like, I don't know if that's a thing, but, like, I'm terrified of, like, these random, like, I don't think I'll ever go hiking alone ever.
That's why you always look where you're walking.
Yeah, that too.
I mean,
but seriously, though, but, like, I think about that when I think about, like, okay, there's these crazy cave systems, like, sinkholes exist, like, are there areas that just have been worn down over time and there's millions of acres where no one has ever stepped a single foot?
Yeah.
Or at least in the last 100 years. And if you just put the wrong weight in the wrong spot, you're going to crash through like what was like a foot of soil.
Yeah.
And you just open up a new hole and you're in the bottom of some cave and you're done.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, I mean, I that's kind of, my theory wasn't exactly the cave system, but the same kind of thought process of something happens. Like maybe he had to navigate a narrow section down to the river that had some deep, drop-offs on both sides, and he trips and falls.
Sure.
And he just happened to, just fell into an area that for whatever reason is not very searchable.
Or hit his head, knocked out in the river, and then washed out.
But yeah, I think the third one, no foul play. I think some kind of accident definitely happened. And, a lot of these cases, I think probably someday something will be found.
I really hope so, because you always read about how, obviously the family's already devastated, distraught over what's happened. But I've never experienced this because I've had a lot of loved ones die. But, like, you get to go to the funeral, and that's a very important grieving process. I cannot imagine having a loved one that's just gone.
Yeah.
And, like, we get perplexed when we're talking, like, the last case.
Yeah.
Like, it's bugging me.
Yeah.
And it's not even someone I know.
I know.
So can you imagine if it's someone you, like, have a deep love for? It's
parent,
a family member. Yeah.
brother, sister.
Yeah, like someone you, like, deeply love, and there's, sorry, nothing.
They're just gone.
Yeah, like, that's awful. It's got to be torture.
Yeah.
So, like, it's always terrible, like, when Paul's remains got found, I, like, felt a sense of relief for the family.
Yeah.
And then we talked to his sister, who was out there searching with her husband from Canada, and she even wrote back, she's like, we're just glad that there's closure.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like a relief. Like, it's terrible, but it's like, okay, we have answers. We can start to slowly move on.
Yeah, it's like the fear of the unknown. If they haven't been found, you have that creeping sense like, oh, what if they're still out there? What if...
Yeah, like,
what happened?
What
like,
if we're failing them by
Yeah.
not finding them because there's a possibility they could be found, and like, I can imagine, like, I would never want to stop looking because you'd feel like you'd fail them.
The other thing, as just a hiker of these parks, now that we've been doing so many of these cases, it is a little unsettling when you're hiking through Glacier or Yosemite or Yellowstone or any of these big parks, and you just sit back and think about, wow, there's quite a few unsolved missing persons cases in this park. Like,
And a lot of times right where we're hiking.
Yeah.
When I just recently went to Glaciers, not last year, the year before COVID, and I was hiking our big loop that me and you did years prior, and they had an active missing persons case going on on the trail we were on.
Yep.
And the entire time I'm hiking, I'm like, because of this show, and we were talking about on the trail, I'm just like, what could he have done?
I know.
Like, I'm walking the trail, I'm looking around, I'm like, where is this guy?
I know.
Like, what happened? There's several areas where I'm like, wow, if I like went off here, I could go down this valley and just be gone forever. Like, is he down there?
Yeah. That brings up an interesting point, not related to these three cases, but if anybody listening has been lost to the point where a search and rescue mission was out looking for them and then you were found, we would love to talk to you, about how the events went down. Like, how did you go missing? How did you survive? What it was like when you saw the first searcher come get you?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
There's a guy in California, Joe, is trying, if
I
he ever
reached out
hears
to him.
this,
Dave Knoll.
Dave Knoll.
Out of California, was just rescued. He has the most baller rescue photo ever. He's in the helicopter throwing up, like, the rock and roll hand.
Yeah.
And he's all dirty because he's out there for like 5 days surviving on water. And one of our Patreon supporters, was it Vince?
Troy.
Troy. No, it wasn't Troy.
No,
it was
Anthony.
Anthony.
Sorry, Anthony.
Sorry, whoever I said wrong. He suggested, because he lives out there, he's like, hey, this person was just found. It would be awesome to hear their story.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, absolutely. So I found him.
Yeah.
And I reached out to him directly on Facebook. I'm going to reach out to his sister, too, to try and get a hold. Maybe he just doesn't check Facebook.
Yeah.
That's the only contact I could get. But we totally, if you're Dave Knoll, or if you're a person that's been rescued, and you just want to do a quick hike and you did something and got lost, it'd be absolutely beneficial for a listener base to know, hey, like,
what did you do to survive?
Or what did you do that caused you to get lost? Was it something as simple as, I just went off the trail to go pee real quick, and then I turned around and I couldn't find the trail, and I thought I knew the right way, and I went deeper and deeper and deeper. I can promise you we won't make fun of you, because that can happen, but I think it would be good for our listener base to understand how easily you can get lost in backcountry or an area like that.
And I think it's important for everyone listening, too, to understand what you can do to make the odds greater that you will be found.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
obviously, the best source for this information is people that have gone missing and then were found.
Absolutely.
I mean, Joe and I have been lost, and when you say we're lost, we've been lost, during a hike where, I've been lost, in Canyonlands for half a day, and we figured it out. none of us have been lost to the point where search and rescue teams have been called up to find us. That's a whole new level of, of a situation going on. And it's, we talk about a lot of things you can do to keep yourself from getting into these situations. We haven't really gone into much of what you can do to survive once you're lost. I think that could be a really fun episode down the road to talk about survival techniques you can do once you're lost. And there's no, you can't figure out where the trail is. You're here now for several days.
You're lost. No one's coming for a while.
What to do for shelter? What things can you eat? What can't you eat? What do you do about water? What do you do if you're injured? All that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things you can do that can prolong your time out there. And being lost you're playing a time game.
Well, and this is where we stressed in the last episode, bringing real simple life-saving devices that don't take up space is just a great idea.
Thermal blanket.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one.
Matches.
But even outside of that stuff, if you can keep yourself warm at night in an area that's cold, you can live for 3 days without water and up to a week without food. So right away, you could just say, I have no resources whatsoever. I can live at least 3 days if you cannot freeze at night.
Yeah.
So things like bringing the tiny thermal blanket, stuff like that. I would love to do an episode where we talk about just the simple things that, we're not going to tell you to carry 20 extra pounds of stuff to survive a day hike. No, hey, throw this stuff in your purse and leave it in your purse. A thermal blanket can fit in your purse. You won't even know it's there. So if you're going on a day hike, you better have that in your backpack. Maybe it'd be 4 or 5 things that could make you live another week in the woods.
They even make little UV light filters that are not much bigger than the size of a pen, a highlight marker. And, one of the things, if you're going to be stuck out in the woods for, longer than a few days, obviously if your only choice is to drink untreated water, do it, because survival is the ultimate goal. But if you drink untreated water and it's loaded with, some nasty bacteria,
you get giardia or something,
you get diarrhea, that is going to speed up.
Yeah, the dehydration gets worse.
Your problems. So there's a lot of real simple things. And like I said in the past episode, you
can even throw the pills in your purse. They don't expire.
Yeah.
They're real easy. There's a lot of
real
stuff you
small
can carry.
Basic. There's first aid kits the size of wallets that you can carry that have just real basic things. Even if you get stung by a bee and are allergic, there's things you can bring with that. Like I said, the ultimate goal is time, buying yourself more time, because the longer you can stay alive, the better the chance the searchers are going to find you.
Absolutely.
So we'll have to do an episode. I'd love to get a survival expert on.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
So if any of you are survival experts, reach out to us as well.
That listen to our show and just cringe when we say things wrong, this is your opportunity to come on and set the record straight.
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of it is common sense in my eyes of things to bring. You just got to think, where are you? All right, is it cold? All right, I need something that I can keep warm. That's lightweight.
That's a great way to put it. Is it cold where I'm at? All right, I need things that keep me warm. Is it really hot where I'm at? All right, I need things that keep me cool.
Is there water where I'm going hiking? Do I need to, bring a little filter? There's all kinds. We won't go into any more detail this time, but I don't even know where I started with that point. We've been rambling for so long on it.
No, just doing a show specific around either just basic survival.
Once you're lost,
assuming you're lost, don't know where to get back, or you've hit that point where it's that realization of, oh crap.
And
what do you immediately start doing to increase your odds of making it out?
And a couple lessons: don't wear blue jeans.
Yes.
Bring your cell phone. Don't turn it off. If you have a couple little battery packs, bring those too and make sure they're charged, because then you can get an extra couple days out of your phone. And what was the third real simple thing? I just lost my train of thought now. If you're hiking in a really remote area like Diablo Canyon, the episode we just did prior, maybe spend a couple $100 and actually buy a personal locator beacon.
Yeah, that will do it right there.
They're one-use devices. They're pretty, they're kind of expensive to buy, and there is a pretty hefty charge if you have to use it. But it literally bounces a signal off a satellite to search and rescue teams, and gives them your exact location.
Yeah,
and you will 100%.
If you're ever stuck with having to pay the rescue fees, contact us. We'll run a campaign. We'll get it covered.
Yeah.
If we can keep you not from being a topic of our show other than you survived, We'll figure out a way to
Now,
cover
I'm not
for you. How about
saying
that?
like if you're hiking Yosemite or one of the main parks, you need to have a personal locator.
Yeah, if you're
beacon
around
on.
lots of people, but if you're a remote,
But if you're
remote
hiking in like Idaho, like way off the beaten track, like having one of those probably isn't the worst idea.
Yep. No, totally agree.
Yeah.
All right, I think so overall, I would say these disappearances aren't as mysterious as they think. I think it's coincidental because it's a heavily trafficked spot. A mixture of potential foul play for the first two, potential self-harm, and then accident.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I'm on your train.
All right. It rarely happens, but you're there. So thanks again for tuning into our show. We appreciate all of you for listening and sharing Locations Unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like us and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also have the YouTube channel where you can see us live or semi-live, whatever you call it when we record it, but we're there. And if you want to support our show monetarily, you can buy some swag off our Facebook store. Mike will eventually be getting our store on the website.
Maybe by next episode.
Otherwise, you can sign up for Patreon for as little as $1 a month or more, where you will get swag and access to exclusive Patreon content. So go check that out. And just remember, when enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or just taking a walk, always remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all next time.